Currently in our area, 65 degrees under fair skies. Today, abundant sunshine. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Low 60. Winds south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday, partly cloudy skies. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back, everybody, and good morning to you. It is Memorial Day. Today, we take you to our country's most hallowed ground, Arlington National Cemetery. This is a look at the sentinels who guard the tomb of the unknown soldier. They, in fact, carry this sacred duty out no matter what the weather is.
Forward! March!
It is considered one of the most highly regarded positions in the military. A dance of precision, perfection, and perseverance. The few who have performed this solemn duty have earned it. They are the sentinels who guard the tomb of the unknowns.
For me, it represents all soldiers, past, present, and future, and it states that we will never forget their honor and everything that they did for this country.
This most sacred spot at Arlington National Cemetery is watched over by the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard. Since 1948, the Sentinels have been keeping constant vigil 24 hours a day, every day, in the exact same way, regardless of the weather.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
The same wool uniform is worn year-round, which the soldiers maintain themselves. From pressing their uniforms to shining their shoes. Their routine is steeped in decades of tradition, but some things have changed over the years.
The major change that we've seen since I was a Sentinel 50 years ago is the winter uniform. We wore cotton gloves, usually 2 pair of cotton gloves that were wet so that we could hold on to the rifle. Today, they have these nice, warm, fur-lined ear protection with a fur-lined cap. They also have leather gloves that they use, and I would have killed for that.
Hey! Hey!
During their 26-hour shift, the soldiers take turns walking the mat, changing guard every hour in the winter and every 30 minutes during the summer months. They stand guard in the worst of weather, from triple-digit heat to rain to snow.
If the weather is extremely bad and Arlington National Cemetery closes, we're still out there doing the job just the way we would normally. It just takes a little extra preparation to make sure that person can get out there.
For me to go out there and sweat or get my uniform, wet or what have you back in the day, that was really nothing compared to what they deserve all the honor. It has nothing to do with me.
When you're out there, no matter what the elements are, you perform at your best. The training helps that because you go through the motions of what to do over and over, and it's repetitive and it's precise every time.
Hold up!
Those people on the plaza gave everything. So, the least we can do is go out there and just stand for an hour.
The Sentinel badge is the second least awarded badge in the military, and only a few hundred have ever earned it. But for those who have, it's an experience they will never forget.
Out of all the millions of men in the world, I had the opportunity to do this, and not just me, but to be around a good group of people that you create a bond with that's going to last for a lifetime.
If this job doesn't make you proud to be an American, I don't know what does.
And you know what? Families, friends, and loved ones have been spending the holiday weekend honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Gray skies eventually made way for some sunshine here at Fayetteville National Cemetery over in Arkansas. That was just yesterday, and you're going to have those same conditions overhead for today's Stars and Stripes Forever Memorial Day commemoration ceremony, which will be held at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, if you will be out and about going to your own local Memorial Day events, here's a look at the forecast. Some of you may be dealing with some rain, especially on the eastern side of the country. We'll track it specifically in a moment, but at any given point throughout the day today, this is where we have the best chance to experience rain, whether you're in Louisiana, Mississippi, all the way up into the Northeast, or you've got some spotty showers from Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas, and even into Colorado. Everybody else, mainly dry here. You got a new system knocking on doorstep in Seattle, but you get south of the California-Oregon line, I-5 looks good all the way down into Los Angeles and into San Diego. And I do think we could see maybe a couple spotty showers. We're watching some light rainfall this morning in eastern Iowa that's drifting into parts of Wisconsin. Does it get to Chicago? I don't think so. So the airports there should be fine. 86 degrees, mostly sunny skies. It's actually looking beautiful this morning in Chicago. Marquette's great at 78. Detroit, same story. So temperature-wise, I mean, fantastic. Kansas City, kind of the warmer spot here at 87. We were super cool yesterday in the Northeast. Some of us staying in the 50s. Today will be in the 70s, but it's dreary, okay? We've got the humidity back, we've got the low-level moisture back, and also down in the south, those storms could get aggressive from time to time. We'll be back. Jackson, Mississippi, Nashville, Atlanta, Tallahassee, just to list a few. We've been really needing a lot of moisture. Everything's thirsty. From the ground, obviously, to maybe your local plants that you've got, you pull them outside, and you got to water those every day. Now Mother Nature is doing the watering for you, and I'm hoping, give it a couple of weeks, and we can chip away that exceptional drought completely, all right? Because it's definitely helped the fact that we've had repetitive rain each and every day over the last several days. But that exceptional drought is kind of all over the place, sprinkled in North Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi, and back into Georgia, Florida, with, moderate to severe drought everywhere else. So we will take it wherever we can get it. Mother Nature is going to provide several more inches of rainfall. Again, some of these storms can provide an inch of rain in like an hour. So we've got that flood threat for today because it's just torrential rain, and some of these storms are slow movers. So if they're not getting in, getting out, and getting on, then basically you got a chance to see that water come down, eventually come up. All right, so be careful out there, especially on this I-10, even I-20 corridors. I think it's going to be kind of nasty. Pooling on the highways. If you're going into a big thunderstorm and you're on cruise control because you're enjoying your little road trip back home, take it off cruise control. Okay, I don't want you hydroplaning. This is the action that we will watch all day long today. All right, that's going to continue to move north, triggering storms from Montgomery to Macon, Georgia, back down to Tallahassee. You have the chance, as well as Atlanta. Over here into the Carolinas, it'll be a little bit more hit and miss. Notice we've got a little bit of rain trying to hit the southeast coast. Not anything big or large or anything like that, but from a sunshine day at the beach, that could change if you get this wave of storms that comes knocking on your doorstep. So that'll be a little bit more hit and miss for you, scattered to numerous thunderstorms, Mobile to New Orleans, and then eventually seeing the cluster really expand its coverage by 3, 4, 5 o'clock this evening. All right, so the Atlanta airport can maybe see another delay. You had hundreds of flights delayed yesterday because of these storms. We'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, storms up into Appalachia on some of our beautiful lakes up there, and it looks like we're going to be pretty active going into tonight, and that means we'll also be active going into tomorrow. That pattern you just saw will be right back into the forecast for tomorrow. Look at cluster of thunderstorms yet again on the border of Mississippi and Alabama, all that pushing up into North Georgia. So this pattern is basically going to be a carbon copy going into tomorrow with more storms lingering into Wednesday. Again, remember, as you get a lot of runoff, I want you to be careful. We say this all the time, it's kind of annoying, but turn around, don't drown. I know it's like, oh, but it's just this little water over the roadway. The problem is it doesn't take a lot of water to knock you off your feet or even float your car and push it in a direction you're not trying to go. Okay, 2 feet of fast-moving, flowing water can move that vehicle. And you know what, Molly? We had 2 feet of flowing water in Atlanta just last week because of that thunderstorm coming right over the city.
And that was one very isolated thunderstorm that just sat there and caused a lot of big problems. Houston is known for flooding when it rains, and that's precisely what parts of the city did on Saturday after days of downpours. This is in the city of Alvin, just south of Houston. Water turning green fields into lakes. Fortunately, more storms are on tap this week, so you want to stay weather aware, as Jordan just mentioned. That water right there would be enough to float your vehicle. You can't even tell how deep it is in some spots, but that is the issue with driving across flooded roadways. You don't know how deep the water is. You don't know how strong the current is. You don't even know how much of the road is left underneath the flooding, especially when you've seen days and days and days of flooding like this. Let's start in western Texas, where we have the threat for storms today. A few stronger storms that extends up into New Mexico, where some more widespread rain is very welcome into the state, especially when it comes to the wildfires. Tomorrow, I think we have an even higher chance for some stronger storms, some stronger updrafts, larger hail, maybe even a tornado threat presenting too as we get deeper into the afternoon. Western Texas is a spot that we could use some rain, especially when you compare it to the eastern half of Texas around Houston, where month to date we've seen 5 to 8 inches of rainfall, and we're not done yet, right? This is a very soggy week on the way. There are a few spots that stand out that maybe we could see 3 to 5 inches of rain, but this, I would say, is, in general, 1 to 2 inches of rain widespread. We know what can happen with the kind of Gulf moisture that is available, the kind of downpours we've seen recently. You can get 1 to 2 inches of rain in one thunderstorm in less than an hour. We've seen a lot of evidence of that as of late. Now, southern Texas, western Texas, we do have a few spots where we do not have drought, Houston being one of those, southern Louisiana. You also have eliminated the drought with all of the rain recently. A lot of moisture available, so the storms that pop today, not as much coverage, but heavy rain and even some severe weather possible in western Texas. Here's what you don't want to see outside your back door. Evening storms battered Morgan City, Louisiana. Heavy rain, powerful winds. Look at that. That is an intense thunderstorm. There is another round of feisty storms already coming together for the second half of the week. You could see more of this by the time we get to late Wednesday. I mean, if you were to just show me this video and I didn't know what time of the year it was, but I knew the location, I would probably guess that this was a tropical storm. That is some intense wind. Morgan City, Louisiana has been the focus of not only thunderstorms, but also flash flooding there in southern Louisiana. Let's talk about the second half of the week, because once we get past the holiday weekend, the pattern for us in the south isn't going to be a whole lot different than what we've seen the past couple of days. In fact, a blocking pattern is going to emerge. Essentially, this is like traffic in the atmospheric roadways where all of these features get stuck. And what's going to happen is, while they're stuck, all of this moisture is being drawn to the north over and over and over again. Of course, where you're going to see that highest moisture content right next to where we have this very large moisture source. That is the Gulf. That has been unloading a lot of rain in southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi. In fact, I'm a little bit concerned about southern Mississippi as we go over the next couple of days, because there is going to be repeated heavy downpours and thunderstorms. And we've already seen, month to date, 8+ inches of rain, some spots even picking up over a foot of rain. 1 to 2 inches of rain, that is widespread, but we will absolutely see some downpours that can produce 1 to 2 inches per hour. We've seen that already this weekend. We need it. This pattern change is welcome. However, too much of a good thing in a short amount of time. We've seen evidence of that this weekend too. Here's the timing for us second half of the week, Wednesday into Thursday. Initially, the focus is going to be Southern Plains, Lower Mississippi Valley. All of this edges to the east as we head towards the weekend. So go ahead and anticipate another very soggy weekend across the southeast. Not a complete washout. I know when you look at this, you're like, wow, it's just going to be day after day, all day rain. There will be some dry windows where you can go and enjoy some outside plans, because I know the kids are out of school at this point for a lot of the schools across the south. And you're like, I can't spend a week inside the house. We got to do some outdoor activities. So there will be time you can do that. Wednesday through Thursday, Thursday through Friday, every single day, we're going to be watching for the flash flood potential. Can't say this enough. Just 6 inches of flowing water is enough to knock you off your feet, but 2 feet of flowing water is enough to float your vehicle and get you into trouble pretty quickly, Jordan. We've seen so much video just in the past couple of days alone of cars looking just like this.
I know, and I wish we could say, we won't see any more, but the reality is, with the torrential rain that's on the docket for today or this week, we may see more images like that. So just please be careful while you're out on the roads. Hey, if you're going to the beach, be careful. We should have a beautiful beach day for folks around Daytona, Jacksonville, Vero. Miami looks good. I'll show you the rain in a moment, but we have higher rip currents today on the Atlantic. We also have high rip currents here from Apalachicola due west through Pensacola, even getting into places across Orange Beach, right? Some of those spots in Alabama even. So just be careful while you're out there. You can go in, just make sure to swim next to a lifeguard. Obviously, we're going to be looking at flags that are either in the yellow category or the red category today, which will give you perspective on what the water's like. Because, again, those rip currents you can't really see unless you're trained. So I want you to be careful. Spotty showers up here just north of Tampa, Sarasota area. We also have more intense rain around Destin, Navarre, Fort Walton Beach, even into Pensacola, Jacksonville down to Orlando. It's going to be hit and miss, but you've got some action possible. And then West Palm, Miami, you guys look good today. As I mentioned, even tomorrow looking great across I-95 here from Florida. I think you guys will get more into a stormy pattern late in the week, so enjoy the temperatures near 90. And then eventually we'll get that rain game back on for you folks in the peninsula. Best rain today is actually in an area where we really need it, so it'd be great to see it across that Florida-Georgia line with the latest drought. The European model says, yeah, from now through next Sunday, this is going to be our targeted area. The GFS is like, we'll get rain there, but our targeted area is down here towards South Florida. So real big differences and discrepancies on what the model is saying. It does tell us that we're all going to get a chance for rain throughout this week. But again, where's the bullseye? Today, tomorrow, really focusing our attention on Pensacola, on Tallahassee, and some of the beach locations here, Mexico Beach. I think you'll have a great chance for that. But by Thursday into Friday, we're going to start to see this area across the peninsula get really, really active for us each and every day. Some of these storms coming back into the game as we head into next weekend, looking all the way ahead into next weekend. So storms will definitely be possible now that we're in the rainy season. Again, morning hours look good, afternoon hours a little bit darker and more aggressive. We get into this time of year, we're already starting to keep our eye on the Gulf and out along the southeast coast for potential development. Nothing right now in the near future, Molly, but we always keep an eye on it.
It just feels like it's too soon already, but I guess that time of year. Well, let's get you out the door here in the Northeast, where it has been a gloomy holiday weekend. That trend continues today. Already got some problems here in Washington, D.C. with a ground stop due to low ceilings. We do anticipate more problems with exactly that very same delay up and down the 95 corridor with some lighter rain moving through. I guess the good news out of all of this is that temperatures are not nearly as cold as what they were yesterday, with our highs only in the 40s and 50s. Today, it's more like the 60s and 70s for the eastern seaboard, and even the higher elevations seeing some improvements. Rip current risk is high, but it's not a great beach day anyway.
Currently in our area, 64 degrees under fair skies. Today, plenty of sunshine. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, a few clouds. Low 61. Winds south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday, partly cloudy skies. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back in on this Monday morning ground stop here. DCA, I know. Going until 9:30. It's for low ceilings. We had a lot of these delays yesterday, just the overall pattern on the 95 corridor. So get ready. I think this is going to be a theme the day ahead.
We were worried about this. The low ceiling is going to be an issue today. The problem is it's already starting off. So we know it's going to get a little bit worse later in the afternoon. Right now, the morning hours, we're definitely focused on the northeast. But this afternoon, that's when the south comes into play.
We had a ground delay program, ground stop at Atlanta yesterday because of the showers and thunderstorms. I think it's very likely we get into that today. You combine that with some delays we could see in, say, New York or Boston, Washington, D.C. Patience is going to be needed today.
What's that saying? Patience is a virtue?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what that means. Especially I tell that to my kids. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just wait. Meanwhile, take a look at the active south from Mississippi up and down I-55. We've got it around places around the Gulf, Gulfport, even New Orleans. New Orleans could be one of those spots. MSY, that goes into a delay.
DFW, maybe. I don't think we'll see as much coverage today, so it's really going to depend on exactly where those storms form. Go ahead and throw Houston in that as well, with some thunderstorms possible, causing some headaches, but definitely the southeast, interstate travel. It's going to be a little bit dicey in the afternoon with some heavy downpours and thunderstorms. We're kicking off the unofficial start to summer for many of us. That means packing up the car and heading to the beach.
All right, so before you guys hit the sand and the surf, we have the ultimate checklist to keep you and your family safe all summer long. Joining us to break it down is Wyatt Werniff from the American Lifeguard Association. Wyatt, thumbs up, man. Good to see you. So glad that you got a nice blue sky in your background. We hear the phrase, know before you go. So what do families need to remember before they leave the house?
Hey, good morning. Happy Beach Safety Week, as well as let's not forget why we have Memorial Day. Reflect back. No, that's a great start right there. Know before you go. That is, we're asking people to do a little research. Get on the computer, find out what the weather is, find out where there are lifeguards, and find out where the places you normally go, if there are lifeguards or not, because we have had a lifeguard shortage. So know before you go means a lot and can make the difference between a good day and a bad day.
We say it all the time that it's critical to swim in front of a lifeguard or near a lifeguard stand, but let's be real, not every beach has them, right? So how can having a dedicated water watcher also make a difference?
Oh, you guys are killing it this morning. Thank you. No, absolutely. Assigning a water watcher is one of the best things you can do. But let's go back a little bit. Learn to swim, America. You want that water watcher to know how to swim. And the idea is you're going to identify the small ones in your group, or maybe even adults that don't know how to swim. Put them in a Coast Guard approved life jacket. But having someone like your own lifeguard is a great start. And it goes back to know before you go, coordinate all of that. Find out, where you're going to be, have a rendezvous point, and watching the others that swim and having someone that's dedicated as a water watcher is something that's going to make a difference. What you wouldn't believe. You'd have a wonderful day, and you can even alternate. Get different people to kind of wear a tag or something that says water watcher or chaperone or something like that. It's a great start.
Yeah, just put that beach chair right there where the water hits your toes and just kick it as you're watching them swim. I know a lot of families and kids too, they're used to swimming in pools rather than the ocean. Will that same flotation device you mentioned, maybe wearing a life jacket, will that keep us safe in open water just like it does in the pool?
I had a conversation this morning. I think across America we have wave pools and water parks, and I think people get used to that and they're too comfortable. So the ocean is a very different animal, even with a life jacket on, because of the waves that can turn you around upside down and even knock you out of it. But one of the most important things is that water watcher, or go to an area where there's a lifeguard. Your chance of drowning in front of a lifeguard are 1 in 18 million. But if you go to an area that's not, identify a flotation device. And some of these areas that we have around Florida and other parts of America, they actually have flotation rescue stations. And the idea is so that you know that they're there and how to use them. Even if someone's in a life jacket, they're going to float for a while. So the flotation is key. If you can get to someone before they panic in a rip current in the ocean and get them flotation, by the time that the rescuers get there, it's going to be an okay day. They're going to get out. They're going to be a little scared. But you got to know where that flotation is and have flotation available. If it's a boogie board, a beach ball, or even a cooler.
You mentioned rip currents. Those are one of the biggest hidden threats at the beach. So how do we spot them, first of all? And then what should we do if we end up getting caught in one?
Well, this goes back again to know before you go. We have a red flag condition today. Find out what the flag condition is that area. It's kind of like a stoplight. Green meaning, okay. Yellow, slow down, use caution. Red, don't go. You got a red flag today. So it's important that you actually know the conditions before you get there, as well as, the surrounding environment. Rip currents move around. And if you're in front of a lifeguard, lifeguards are going to identify that for you. But you can start with wherever there's a dip. There's a rip. Wherever that water pushes all the way up and gets your stuff wet, you're in the rip. So don't go in the water.
Good call. Wyatt Werniff from the American Lifeguard Association, you really gave us some really good tips this morning. Thank you so much for being there with us. It looks beautiful out there today, so I hope you get a chance to enjoy it. Kind of wish I was with you.
Did you see the red flag behind him?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
We're going to have that in a lot of locations.
Frisky's World. Let's dive into something new. Yeah, Frisky's new.
Waking up on this Memorial Day, some of us could be dodging some big old raindrops. Rounds of showers and storms could impact ceremonies or your outdoor events. And our rainy and stormy pattern is going to continue through this week, especially for folks along the eastern side of the country. Much of that rain is great news. We are in desperate need of that moisture across the southeast. While it's not going to erase our drought by any means, every little bit is going to help. Keep in mind, we could see isolated flash flooding, definitely in those spots where you can see some yellow. And when it comes to rainfall, some of us could even pick up 4, 5, 6 inches this week. That is a potential. This is America's Morning Headquarters. Good morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jordan Steele, alongside meteorologist Molly McCollum. Molly, just looking at the rain over the last 2 days, some areas have picked up like 2 to 4 inches. Just a 2-day span.
It'll be really interesting to see update, the rainfall deficits across the South.
Yeah.
How far are we behind average now after this weekend? And the drought monitor.
Drought monitor specific, yeah, because the thing about, like, when we look at numbers, it's got to fall over, like, that rain gauge.
Right.
You can have a storm right there, it's like, oh, man, that's and it doesn't fall over that rain gauge. Oh, we didn't get any rain today. It's like, well, no, we did.
Well, I was curious yesterday, I was looking at, we had just this tremendous thunderstorm at our house, and I was like, I wonder how much rain that was. And then it didn't rain as much at the Atlanta airport,
right.
So, that's gets a little bit tricky when you're, like, in the summertime, and you have these storms that sit over one area, and then down the street they're not getting any rain at all. All right, let's talk about travel for the Memorial Day holiday weekend, because we know a lot of people are traveling. In fact, 39.1 million of you by car, 33.6 million by plane, and then you've got train, bus, and cruises sitting at 2.2 million. That's had a 5% increase over the past couple of years. We do have some airport delays. The first one is in Washington, D.C. DCA has a ground stop right now because of low ceilings. I do think, unfortunately, that it's going to be a trend as we go throughout the day along the 95 corridor. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at D.C. because some of the cameras I've seen, that's not even a look, really. You can barely see the road there. And then, of course, the sky. It's very clear where we have a low ceiling ground stop. Visibility just awful there in D.C. Again, could be a trend that we see up and down the 95 corridor with more rain and more low cloud cover. We saw a lot of that yesterday. What we also saw yesterday were some troubles at the Atlanta airport with thunderstorms in the area, and we're facing that once again today. And I know that today is even a busier travel day than what we saw yesterday with everyone trying to get home from the holiday weekend. Today, what could slow you down, not just airport-wise, but on the interstates, 95 corridor, all of the interstates and the interchange there around Atlanta through New Orleans. The I-10 corridor has been a big focus of flooding lately, so that will be something we need to watch out for with more storms in the forecast, not just today, but through a majority of the upcoming week. We talked about how many people are traveling by car, 39.1 million, facing these gas prices with the national average sitting at $4.55. Worst time to travel? These are kind of obvious, right? You get up early. There's not as many people on the car out on the roadways with all the cars. Best time to travel before 10 a.m. We're closing in on that very quickly for the Eastern time zone. But then we look at areas, or times rather, for the second half of the day. We know that there's going to be more people out on the road, and we know there's going to be more storms in the second half of the day too. Not in the Midwest today, though. Chicago, we had several delays at O'Hare yesterday. Thankfully, today is a much better forecast. 86 Chicago, plenty of sunshine, 80s and sunshine there in Milwaukee. We're actually near 90 in Minneapolis today. I think that's just way too far ahead of schedule. 70s up and down the 95 corridor and even into the higher elevations where we had some 40s for our highs yesterday. It was very chilly with a persistent east wind. There's the travel situation across the southeast. Flooding will be absolutely something we have to watch out for. We have rain back into New Mexico and Arizona, even parts of the Colorado Rockies, Pacific Northwest, but most of the West has actually had a really nice weekend, and for most of us, that is going to continue today. But Jordan, even as we get past the holiday today, a lot of the pattern is going to remain the same.
You're right.
Not much change.
Not much change. Now, we do get a little bit of a break in the Northeast, which is great because you guys have been gloomy, you've been rainy, you've been a little cold from this last weekend. We're going to see that pattern shift just a little bit. Now, with that being said, this morning is gloomy and rainy, although it's not that chilly. We still have temperatures in the 50s like we do down here in Boston. You should warm up into the 70s today. Looking at that moisture hanging around the I-95 corridor, and then this drier weather route behind it. So we'll be hopefully looking at some improvement at some point throughout the day today. So it's not a your whole weekend's not a complete washout, because we've had rain hanging out here in the Northeast for the last couple of days. In fact, so much so, places like Mansfield had a house flooded, Rock Cave in West Virginia had a roadway that's passable down into northern Kentucky, right there along the Ohio River Valley. You've got the culvert or bridge that was completely washed out, and you can't even pass it now, so they got to fix that, and you're going to have to go around. That's how much runoff we've been dealing with here across the East Northeast. Still raining in Charleston, West Virginia. We've got rain, of course, that's been on and off in Boston, seeing more and more of that heading into your backyards. We're still seeing some precip here in New York. We've been dealing with some fog this morning. Improvement from visibility standpoints for you folks from Pittsburgh on into Buffalo as well. But I-81, Charlottesville, you've got rain. In fact, the Mid-Atlantic seems to be this zone today. Whether you're in Baltimore, Ocean City, Maryland, Norfolk, Virginia, you guys will be dealing with the rain a little bit longer than we will from New York up into the Northeast. In fact, this is about it. You get through this, that's AM rainfall. You should have some, nicer conditions or drier conditions for the PM. That's definitely for sure, because the high clouds are kind of going offshore. So throughout the day today, you can see all of that pushing east, which will be nice. We'll see it linger down here in the Mid-Atlantic, as I said, clearing this afternoon from Bangor and the coastal parts of Maine. If you're lucky, you get some sunshine or some sun breaks. Then by the time we head into this evening, that rainfall that's hanging around the Mid-Atlantic with that boundary continues to slide across the Delmarva, and then we finally get our break going into the late evening hours tonight and early morning hours tomorrow. So again, you can kind of see that that'll be the plan, at least for today, before we see better chances later in the week. So here we go. Rain still to come. Really not much. It's just that low-level moisture, that drizzle, that'll be persistent. If you're going to the Orioles game here this afternoon, first pitch is at 1:05. It does look like we should be just cloudy and basically good to go for game time. They can't deal with heavy rain, but the lighter stuff we can deal with. For the Mets, you should see this whole system be out of here. So your first pitch not till 4 o'clock. That's even better. You guys are taking on the Reds. Temperatures upper 60s to low 70s, looking quite nice as we, we'll be at home taking on Cincinnati. I know we had a couple of games yesterday that had to get delayed because of the rainfall, but today, at least this part of the country, hopefully should be good. Ollie.
Let's talk about the rounds of rain that we have seen and will continue to see in the Southeast. The Southeast is also a spot desperate for rain. Too much at once will cause flash flooding like what you see in Brooklet, Georgia. We could not have bought a drop of rain for much of May and April, well, until now. The fire hose is not shutting off anytime soon. More scenes just like this possible this week, possible this upcoming weekend. It is going to be a stubborn, soggy pattern. Of course, that continues today. We have some pretty large rainfall deficits year to date. Obviously, we've been talking about the drought a lot, so this ties right into that, obviously. Little Rock sitting at 7.8 inches below average. Nashville, 7.2, almost 7.3. Atlanta, 6.8. Jordan and I were talking about earlier how these rain showers lately, past couple of weeks, these are just specific observation points, a lot of those being at the airport, so it's very possible you have seen more rain than what is being recorded at some of these observation sites, because we have finally seen a pattern change here in the Southeast. Now, that pattern change could end up being too much by the end of this week. Here is the drought situation. This is not a flash drought. This is not something that is short term. This is a long-term, extensive drought. This started last summer, and here we are approaching a year later with summer right around the corner. 2 to 3 inches of rain, that's what most of us will see, but you can see a few hot spots like 3 to 5 inches of rain there in southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, where we have the rain already this morning. A few storms and some of our popular beaches there in the Florida Panhandle. New Orleans, I'm sorry to say that I had to talk about you again this morning. It has been every single morning as of late that we are starting off with showers and downpours here in the New Orleans area, where there is a lot of moisture to work with. In fact, this is high-res future radar, but underneath this, these colors that you see, that is the atmospheric moisture that is available. And where you see those brighter yellow colors even into the orange, that is essentially a lot of moisture for the atmosphere to work with. When that happens and you have these thunderstorms, they can unleash really intense rainfall rates. We're talking 1 to 2, 2 to 3 inches per hour in some cases, and that is what is causing all the problems. Where we have saturated soil too, obviously compounding some of those problems. We start off the day with most of the rain, Mississippi and Alabama. That slowly works its way to the east as we go into the second half of the day. We'll have to watch the Atlanta airport very closely. We know we already had problems yesterday. I would go ahead and anticipate that we will see some problems later today. Tomorrow, same deal for many of us. We start with the heavy rain. This looks familiar, right? In southern Mississippi, a lot of Alabama, Atlanta once again. So if your travel plans don't take you home until tomorrow and you're thinking, oh, well, we'll be okay past the holiday weekend, you still might run into some delays. This pattern is basically what's going to evolve into what is called a blocking pattern. And we're not going to see a lot of movement in the features in the atmosphere. That's going to lead to day after day of downpours in the same areas. This is always a good reminder. 6 inches of flowing water can knock you off your feet. 2 feet of flowing water can float your car. And that is, that's not a lot of water, Jordan, to get into a lot of trouble very quickly.
Good point. Check it out. We go to Texas now and look at some pretty scary skies here in the Lone Star State. A land spout forming here in shallow water, Texas. It's the western part of the state here, and the only way you can see it is because the lightning show that took place. My goodness. Now, we had some flooding ongoing. We had some hail the size of 1 inch. And so these storms that go severe could be a problem for you today, really going into tomorrow as we jump back to work, or for some of you, I can't remember if Texas schools are still in or not as we head into the next 24 hours or so, because we're kind of getting towards the end of the school season for a lot of students. But Las Cruces, southern New Mexico, El Paso, all the way down the Rio Grande, Van Horn, I think it's Valentine, but it goes all the way almost down to the Big Bend National Park. That's today. Best, chance for storms to go severe will give us the likelihood of wind damage. Okay, 60+ mile an hour winds could be possible today, but the fact that we're getting rain is a good thing. Now, we go into tomorrow, everything shifts a little bit farther to the east, and we increase the odds of severe weather. So not only do we have wind damage threat, we also have a hail threat and an isolated tornado threat. All right, Ozona, up into Midland, Odessa. Some of this will form and then race towards San Antonio, towards Fredericksburg, towards the hill country, and even seeing some of those storms down towards the valley yet again, Corpus Christi to Brownsville. You've already seen like 8+ inches of rain so far this month down along the Texas coast, and you could likely see more and more of that again. Look at the flow coming in here across the Texas coast. So some of these storms are actually going to move onshore. They should fizzle and shouldn't last all that long. That storm system now has a severe thunderstorm warning associated with it. This storm has been, light but steady and consistent, and there's been some pockets of heavier rain. So that storm, what's interesting is the whole system is shifting south, and this storm is actually blossoming and kind of moving north and west. Isn't that interesting? So, we'll keep an eye out to see how far north it goes. I don't think it'll last all that long, but it does look like it's actually showing signs of growing here in Callahan and Coleman County. And so that's kind of a smaller storm that we're watching of a larger system here that's already been kind of a really big producer over the last 12 hours because of the slow movement nature that it's in. It's in an environment that could help keep it, going too because of that moisture. But West Texas is the main focal point for us today. El Paso, I mentioned some of the other areas, Fort Stockton. I'd love to see more rain here along the Rio Grande. We could even see some storms up towards Albuquerque, Roswell, New Mexico, Angel Fire, even Taos. But as that heads east, the upper level feature will be there. So throughout the evening hours, some of the storms fizzle, spotty activity overnight into early tomorrow morning, and then it'll reignite going into the afternoon. Look at this. This is 5 o'clock Tuesday afternoon to Tuesday evening. Storms north to south here from Lubbock, Amarillo, all the way down into West Texas. Spotty storms across North Texas, and all that's heading east. Meanwhile, look at what's coming in on the other side of the river valley here near Laredo and Del Rio. Some big storms coming right across Mexico and impacting us here on the U.S. side. So that could bring some big hail. That could bring some big gusty winds and an isolated tornado threat, as I mentioned, and then that'll race towards I-35 late Tuesday night going into Wednesday. So yet again, Texas, your light switch has been on, and that moisture is going to continue for us. And then it'll move back into East Texas, keeping us active for places that tend to flood more easily than not, like Houston. Molly?
Well, from the Lone Star State to the Sunshine State, and there is more sunshine expected today than the past 2 days. Well, there's another risk that is lurking even where we have clear skies, and that is the rip current risk from areas Jacksonville all the way down to Miami, the Atlantic side of Florida. This has been a pattern that's been around for a while with some persistent onshore flow, high risk of rip currents. So even if the water looks so inviting, there can be some dangers lurking in there. We've been talking about it all morning long, that swimming in the ocean is nothing like swimming in the pool. We also have a higher risk for rip currents from Apalachicola through areas like Panama City Beach, Pensacola, over into areas in coastal Alabama. that's where the forecast isn't as great, so it's not the best beach day. But still, if you have a window of time where you're out there, knowing what these flags mean, very important. It's essentially like a stoplight, right? Green, go. Yellow, use a lot of caution, slow down. And then we have red, stop. Double red flag, though, that means water's closed. You do not swim. And in many cases, you can get fined because not only you're putting yourself at risk, but you're putting first responders at risk, too. Look at all the activity over in southern Mississippi, Alabama, and then into the Panhandle, where we've had rain the past couple of hours in Pensacola. Most of us starting off very quiet for most of the Sunshine State. Miami had a few showers earlier. That is very isolated, and we're not expecting a lot of activity in South Florida today. That will change as the week goes on. We are in rainy season now here in Florida, so we anticipate these daily showers and thunderstorms. If you have plans at the theme parks the next 2 days, looks like the forecast is going to be hot and dry. We could use some more rain in Florida. We've been talking about this for a while. The drought continues, and we're anticipating more rain for the second half of the week.
Frisky's World.
Currently in our area, 67 degrees under fair skies. Today, mainly clear. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, a few clouds. Low 60. Winds south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
It is a beautiful day. It is Memorial Day. Today, we take you to our country's most hallowed ground, Arlington National Cemetery, for a look at the sentinels who guard the tomb of the unknown soldier. They carry out this sacred duty no matter the weather.
Forward! March!
It is considered one of the most highly regarded positions in the military. A dance of precision, perfection, and perseverance. The few who have performed this solemn duty have earned it. They are the sentinels who guard the tomb of the unknowns.
For me, it represents all soldiers, past, present, and future, and it states that we will never forget their honor and everything that they did for this country.
This most sacred spot at Arlington National Cemetery is watched over by the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard. Since 1948, the Sentinels have been keeping constant vigil 24 hours a day, every day, in the exact same way, regardless of the weather.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
The same wool uniform is worn year-round, which the soldiers maintain themselves. From pressing their uniforms to shining their shoes. Their routine is steeped in decades of tradition, but some things have changed over the years.
The major change that we've seen since I was a Sentinel 50 years ago is the winter uniform. We wore cotton gloves, usually 2 pair of cotton gloves that were wet so that we could hold on to the rifle. Today, they have these nice, warm, fur-lined ear protection with a fur-lined cap. They also have leather gloves that they use. And I would have killed for that.
During their 26-hour shift, the soldiers take turns walking the mat, changing guard every hour in the winter and every 30 minutes during the summer months. They stand guard in the worst of weather, from triple-digit heat to rain to snow.
If the weather is extremely bad and Arlington National Cemetery closes, we're still out there doing the job just the way we would normally. It just takes a little extra preparation to make sure that person can get out there.
For me to go out there and sweat or get my uniform, wet or what have you back in the day, that was really nothing compared to what they deserve on honor.
you're out there, no matter what the elements are, you perform at your best. The training helps that because you go through the motions of what to do over and over, and it's repetitive and it's precise every time.
Hold up!
Those people on the plaza gave everything. So, the least we can do is go out there and just stand for an hour.
The Sentinel badge is the second least awarded badge in the military, and only a few hundred have ever earned it. But for those who have, it's an experience they will never forget.
Out of all the millions of men in the world, I had the opportunity to do this, and not just me, but to be around a good group of people that you create a bond with that's going to last for a lifetime.
If this job doesn't make you proud to be an American, I don't know what does.
National Arkansas just yesterday, and you're going to have those same conditions overhead for today's Stars and Stripes Forever Memorial Day commemoration ceremony. That starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. Molly?
Let's take a look ahead at the T-Mobile Coast to Coast Memorial Day forecast and give you a peek at temperatures in your area as you plan your travel on this Memorial Day. We've been talking about all the thunderstorms in the southeast. We already have some delays in Washington, D.C. because of low ceilings. It's very cloudy, very foggy there right now. 95 corridor could experience some of the same delays at, say, New York or Boston, just like what we saw yesterday. Let's actually start in Washington, D.C. We're going to stick with the cloud cover and the rain chances. Gradual clearing in the second half of the day. That cloud cover is going to be very stubborn, so we'll see exactly how much sunshine we get, but hopefully some peaking out by the later half of the day. Atlanta opposite. We have quieter skies this morning. Cloud cover, yes, but then more thunderstorms moving back in. Atlanta Airport could cause some problems, just like what we saw yesterday, and some slow travel on the interstates if you're driving. Dallas and a lot of Texas, not as much coverage of thunderstorms today, but where they do pop, hopefully they are not by the airport causing some more delays. Chicago, this is a turnaround from yesterday. Beautiful forecast for you after the stormy weekend.
Coast to Coast forecast is brought to you by T-Mobile, now the best network in America.
Are you one of the millions surprised by rising prices?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Happy Monday to you. Happy Memorial Day. We've had a lot of folks out and about, and a lot of rainfall that we've been dealing with, causing delays at baseball games, delays at airports, rough travel for so many of you. But believe it or not, we need this so bad. Pick your city across the southeast. We are in dire need of more rainfall, believe it or not. So it's been good that we've actually been seeing this torrential rain come through. It just comes with problems, right? 6, 7, 8 plus inches of a deficit from January 1st till now. Little Rock, Nashville, Tallahassee, Atlanta, Jackson, Mississippi. Even Jacksonville is in a deficit. In fact, we've got some pretty gnarly deficits here, which is one of the reasons why you have the exceptional drought on the Florida-Georgia line. Exceptional drought up in the Arkansas and Mississippi. I don't know where Minnesota came from. And also some of the higher country here in North Carolina. And then extreme drought everywhere else. Every state has it. So from now through Friday, we're going to keep this pattern locked and loaded. Every single day, rounds of storms coming through could easily provide 1, 2, 3 plus inches of rainfall. Then you get a break, and then boom, we'll do it again tomorrow. Then maybe a break, and then boom, we'll do it again on Wednesday. That'll be the pattern. When we look ahead, we'll be looking at the biggest pockets down here from I-20 due south. A lot more going to be possible around the Atlanta airport. We could be looking at some of the rain pushing northward through the Tennessee Valley and back up into the Ohio River Valley. So everything is kind of spawning here from the Gulf, moving northward. Spotty showers up here across the mid-Atlantic, but the main game is going to be what's going on here between Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and New Orleans, or I should say Louisiana. Eventually more and more of that going into Georgia. Don't, sleep on some of these spotty storms across the southeast coast too. They're going to be a little bit more hit and miss, right? But they're still going to be active out there, so just don't sleep on those. Meanwhile, we'll be tracking some aggressive wet weather coming up through Montgomery, heading into Huntsville. That's going to be throughout the afternoon and evening hours. More big storms from areas across South Georgia, sliding up into Macon, impacting Atlanta. If you have a flight this evening, this could cause a delay there for you guys. Mobile to Pensacola, it's going to be rough with ongoing. I would not be surprised if we flooded down here today, just because that hose turns on, and it really doesn't show signs of letting up. It'll continue to just flow due north. So I'm a little worried about what happens there. If we get it to move east, that's best case scenario. Then on Tuesday, what happens? we'll go back to the same areas, and we'll start it up again, moving from south to north, scattered storms yet again, all the way up into the high country of Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, even South Carolina, and then, we'll do it again on Wednesday. So you definitely see the pattern. It's not an all-day thing, but we're going to keep the cloud cover. We're going to keep things gloomy and rainy, and obviously that's going to stick with us. So when we talk about flooding, be careful, all right? Some of these flood-prone areas, 6 inches of flowing water could easily knock you off your feet. Then you just get 2 feet of flowing water, and that could pick up a car, move that downstream. So another reason not to drive in it, all right? Please be careful. And as we get into, we already have the flood outlook right now, Molly, saying, hey, heads up, it could happen. And with what we just saw from a model perspective, I think we will see it.
Well, it is an end to a wild weekend. We've had land spouts, we had wind, large hail that all battered the Lone Star State over the holiday weekend. You can see the winds lashing people here in Spearman, Texas on Saturday. Some Texas counties saw golf ball sized hail, multiple trees down with wind gusts up to 60 to even 70 miles per hour also reported. As far as, a lot of thunderstorms in Texas today, not going to be the case, but where they do pop, like say in western Texas, even up into southern New Mexico, they have the potential to be strong. We're talking stronger updrafts, larger hail again, very common in Texas this time of year, as well as the potential for tornadoes. That continues tomorrow, but this time we push that threat farther to the east, and we take that threat and we up it a little bit from Del Rio to Midland, where we just have better ingredients to see some stronger storms, unfortunately. There's a lot of moisture to work with, too. That has been a big theme with some heavy downpours. We have one lone severe thunderstorm warning for Callahan and Coleman counties until 8:45. You also have some heavy rain that's moving just to the south of the Brownwood area. You can see, that thunderstorm just now working its way through these areas, about to be out of the warning. So we'll see if this, if the Weather Service there issues another warning. Here's the situation. And, when you talk about seeing some pockets of 10 inches of rain, that's definitely on the higher end, and that's going to be more isolated. But at this point, we are primed for flash flooding. So any additional rain that we see is easily going to push us into those water levels rising once again. And especially when you get into western Texas and some of the areas of Texas where it's a little bit flatter, it's a lot easier to flood. Here's the timing for us today, and what you see underneath this, these green and yellow colors, that's the available moisture. It's obviously a little bit higher as we get into the afternoon and evening hours. Same deal for us on Tuesday with many of the same areas. Dallas, could we see some delays even as we get into Wednesday morning? Something that we're watching really closely.
And it is tough to see. You got the cloud cover that's super low. We call those low ceilings. Be careful with the foggy conditions out there. It reduces visibility. Keep your low beams on if you're driving around. Some of the roads are a bit damp. We are tracking some rainfall out there as well. And a full-on ground stop at Reagan National. We're already starting off travel not on the right foot, but you know what? That's going to be the name of the game today, especially for folks in and around the eastern seaboard, down into the south. For us, this is the first one of the morning. 10 o'clock is when the ground stop should expire, so we'll see, depending on what conditions look like. Visibility is down to a mile, all right? And we've got conditions pretty calm with that steady rainfall at 66. But BWI is good, Philadelphia is good, EWR, LGA, JFK, you guys are fine in and around New York. You had some delays yesterday. We'll see what happens here across the coast areas of Massachusetts and Maine, but you're green for now. And the high cloud cover is going away, but you still have the low clouds for Syracuse, Buffalo, and into Pittsburgh. So, we'll get decreasing rain. Once we get into the afternoon, that'll be great. We're going to keep the rainy pattern down here across the mid-Atlantic, though. So once we see an afternoon clearing from New York up to Boston, D.C. will still deal with some rain, especially in Baltimore from time to time. Also, the South, we'll watch Nashville, Atlanta, and New Orleans.
We're kicking off the unofficial start to summer. For many of us, that means packing up the car and heading to the beach.
All right, so before you guys hit the sand and the surf, we have the ultimate checklist to keep you and your family safe all summer long. Joining us to break it down is Wyatt Werniff from the American Lifeguard Association. Wyatt, thumbs up, man. Good to see you. So glad that you got a nice blue sky in your background. We hear the phrase, know before you go. So what do families need to remember before they leave the house?
Hey, good morning. Happy Beach Safety Week, as well as, let's not forget why we have Memorial Day. Reflect back. No, that's a great start right there. Know before you go. That is, we're asking people to do a little research. Get on the computer, find out what the weather is, find out where there are lifeguards, and find out where the places you normally go, if there are lifeguards or not, because we have had a lifeguard shortage. So know before you go means a lot and can make the difference between a good day and a bad day.
We say it all the time that it's critical to swim in front of a lifeguard or near a lifeguard stand, but let's be real, not every beach has them, right? So how can having a dedicated water watcher also make a difference?
Oh, you guys are killing it this morning. Thank you. No, absolutely. Assigning a water watcher is one of the best things you can do. But let's go back a little bit. Learn to swim, America. You want that water watcher to know how to swim. And the idea is you're going to identify the small ones in your group, or maybe even adults that don't know how to swim. Put them in a Coast Guard approved life jacket. But having someone like your own lifeguard is a great start. And it goes back to know before you go, coordinate all of that. Find out, where you're going to be, have a rendezvous point, and watching the others that swim and having someone that's dedicated as a water watcher is something that's going to make a difference. What you wouldn't believe. You'd have a wonderful day, and you can even alternate. Get different people to kind of wear a tag or something that says water watcher or chaperone or something like that. It's a great start.
Yeah, just put that beach chair right there where the water hits your toes and just kick it as you're watching them swim. I know a lot of families and kids too, they're used to swimming in pools rather than the ocean. Will that same flotation device you mentioned, maybe wearing a life jacket, will that keep us safe in open water just like it does in the pool?
I had that conversation this morning. I think across America we have wave pools and water parks, and I think people get used to that and they're too comfortable. So the ocean is a very different animal, even with a life jacket on, because of the waves that can turn you around upside down and even knock you out of it. But one of the most important things is that water watcher, or go to an area where there's a lifeguard. Your chance of drowning in front of a lifeguard are 1 in 18 million. But if you go to an area that's not, identify a flotation device. And some of these areas that we have around Florida and other parts of America, they actually have flotation rescue stations. And the idea is so that you know that they're there and how to use them. Even if someone's in a life jacket, they're going to float for a while. So the flotation is key. If you can get to someone before they panic in a rip current in the ocean and get them flotation, by the time that the rescuers get there, it's going to be an okay day. They're going to get out. They're going to be a little scared. But you got to know where that flotation is and have flotation available. If it's a boogie board, a beach ball, or even a cooler.
You mentioned rip currents. Those are one of the biggest hidden threats at the beach. So how do we spot them, first of all? And then what should we do if we end up getting caught in one?
Well, this goes back again to know before you go. We have a red flag condition today. Find out what the flag condition is in that area. It's kind of like a stoplight. Green meaning, okay. Yellow, slow down, use caution. Red, don't go. We got a red flag today. So it's important that you actually know the conditions before you get there, as well as, the surrounding environment. Rip currents move around. And if you're in front of a lifeguard, lifeguards are going to identify that for you. But you can start with wherever there's a dip, there's a rip. Wherever that water pushes all the way up and gets your stuff wet, you're in the rip. So don't go in the water.
Good call. Wyatt Warneth from the American Lifeguard Association, you really gave us some really good tips this morning. Thank you so much for being there with us. It looks beautiful out there today, so I hope you get a chance to enjoy it. Kind of wish I was with you.
Did you see the red flag behind him?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. We're going to have that in a lot of locations.
Can I help you, sir?
Here's the bill from the dealership where I got my.
Currently in our area, 69 degrees under fair skies. Today, abundant sunshine. High 80. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Low 60. Winds south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday, sunshine and clouds mixed. High 81. Winds south-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Situations where you really don't want to keep the door open for too long.
Oh, No, not at all. This has been a big problem in southern Louisiana lately. I mean, if you were to tell me that was like a tropical storm, I might believe you. That's some crazy wind.
Yeah.
But the rain is going to persist in some of these waterlogged areas like Morgan City, which not only saw some severe thunderstorm warnings through the weekend, but also some flash flood warnings. We are going to fall into what is called a blocking pattern, where you've got this big area of high pressure building pretty far to the north. A blocking pattern is essentially like, atmospheric traffic coming to a standstill. It's not going to be a big change in the pattern through the second half of the week. That means persistent flow of this moisture, not just, of course, near the Gulf, where we see it a lot, but pretty far to the north, too. And that's going to lead to day after day of showers and storms over the same areas in the south. Now, southern Louisiana, you see these bright pink colors. Month to date, some of us have seen 8 to 12 inches of rain. So at this point, we know we are saturated, and any additional rain can quickly cause flash flooding. Some of the flash flood guidance, essentially how much rain does it take to push us back into flash flooding, is very low right now, saying it's not going to take a whole lot to see water levels rise very quickly. 1 to 2 inches of rain, but absolutely there is opportunity to see more than that. In fact, some of these thunderstorms, just like what we've seen through the weekend, can produce 1 to 2 inches of rain in an hour or less. That's how much moisture we are working with. And it's good. This has been an anticipated pattern change, right? Because the drought situation continues across the southern tier and the mid-south over into the southern plains. There's been some improvements around Houston and southern Louisiana, and those are the kind of the hot spots we'll have to watch for the next couple of days for the most flash flooding. Eventually, a lot of this continues to work its way to the east. This is now Friday into Saturday, another rainy weekend on tap for areas Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, into parts of the Carolinas, and particularly into northern Florida. However, we're in rainy season now, so we really anticipate this. This goes all the way through Sunday, perhaps even continuing through the upcoming week. We're talking a whole week from now. We'll have to watch that really closely day after day for where we see the most rain and where we are most vulnerable to flash flooding. Wednesday through Thursday, Thursday through Friday, you get the picture. It is not going to take a lot after the weekend that we've had. And some reminders that 6 inches of flowing water is enough to knock you off your feet. We've seen a lot of videos lately of people driving through floodwaters. You do not want to do that. Only 2 feet of flowing water is enough to float your vehicle and get you into trouble pretty quickly in some of those floodwaters. Jordan?
All right, so let's go to the beach now. Let's get another look at your rip current forecast. Again, reminder today, Jacksonville all the way down to Miami. We've got high rip currents all across the Atlantic, but even for our Gulf locations from Pensacola, Gulfport, in and around Dolphin Island and Orange Beach, you guys have a high rip current as well. So I want you to be careful there. We've got some lower end, but definitely some rip currents here between Naples and Sarasota, and then also up across the southeast coast. So needless to say, it's not calm and it's not 100% safe for just the average, beach vacationer that only shows up once or twice a year, right? This is going to be a little bit more for experienced swimmers around the coastal locations, especially if you have red flags flying today. I think some of those other locations could have a medium risk in terms of overall rip currents. What about the weather? Well, we've got nice, beautiful, sunny weather from Space Coast, Daytona, all the way down into Miami today, so that's fantastic. A couple pop-up storms around Tampa, and then a lot more wet weather from Pensacola, Destin, Navarre, pointing west. That's where the storms could really get aggressive for you guys today. And then into tomorrow, we're going to keep that flow active around Pensacola, looking pretty nice around the Big Bend. For anybody going and enjoying some fishing out there, just watch out for the seas. And then in terms of Naples, Key West, can't beat it. 88 degrees, sunshine. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. With all that being said, we've entered the rainy season. We've seen some storms get pretty aggressive over the last several weeks here, especially down towards Miami. That's one of the reasons why you don't have as much drought there. But we still are looking at really rough drought around the Big Bend here, and that's going to stick with us until we get weeks and weeks and weeks of rainfall. This 3 to 5 is definitely going to help, but that's now through Sunday, so that's all week long. So it helps, but it doesn't erase it completely. GFS actually puts the highest rain down towards South Florida from now through next Wednesday, so obviously the models are kind of different in terms of where they put the big bullseye. What they're both saying, though, is that we're all going to see rain. So you're all going to get a chance of rain from now through Sunday. The question is, who sees the flood potential and who doesn't? Obviously, with the storms that we have today, we'll watch around the Panhandle. But by Thursday and Friday, you can see clearly that we've got storms all across the peninsula, specifically the I-95 side. We'll get those storms coming and going each and every day as we head into your Friday and even into Saturday of next weekend. Molly?
Well, let's get you out the door here in the Northeast. Gloomy holiday weekend. That's going to continue today, though temperatures have moderated a little bit. Instead of those highs in the 50s, it'll be more towards the 60s and 70s. High risk of rip currents from the Delmarva to the Jersey Shore, Long Island. Well, it's not the best beach day anyway, with the rain coming down. As early as this morning, continuing through most of the day, we will see some gradual clearing second half of the day, but still, kind of gloomy, overcast. Wouldn't be surprised to see some low ceiling delays, too, at some of our airports again.
Channel TV app keeps you prepared for any type of weather. Our goal is to keep people safe. Log in and experience local weather. Real-time radar, minute-to-minute coverage.
Waves are just crashing on the seashore.
Top stories in our on-demand library. Travel updates and flight delays. And landfall cams bringing you every angle of the storm. No one keeps you prepared like the Weather Channel TV app. Start your free trial and be prepared all season.